If the New York Giants want to upset the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night, they need to check off these items on the list. Locked on Giants starts right now.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. I'm your host, Patricia Traina, credential member of the New York Giants media for Locked On, as well as for New York Giants on SI, which is where you can find all of our written work. And as always, we welcome on in our Blue Crew community members, our everydayers, our newcomers, and everybody in between. And we thank you so much for spending part of your day with us here on the Locked On Giants podcast. And today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, Giant fans, it's Friday. It's time to take a deep dive into what the New York Giants need to do if they are to get hope against all hope, if they are to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now, I believe, up to a 6-point favorite in Sunday night's game. And, obviously the answer is score more points somehow. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the keys to the game with some stats and some data that I pulled from True Media and from Pro Football Focus. So we'll take a look at that and how that can factor into the game. Then in segment 2, we're going to take a look at what I've been calling the dead zone. What exactly is going on in the dead zone? Why are they struggling? What are the numbers? So we're going to look at that area, really put a focus on that, because that's really been a problem for the Giants, not just this year, but also last year as well. And then finally, I'm going to give you an update on the injured players, in particular, Andrew Thomas. Where do things stand? Is he going to play? And what about some of the other injured guys? We'll talk about that in segment 3. So again, welcome on into everybody. Let's get into it. All right. If the Giants want to win on Sunday, which is their 2025 home opener, I have a list here of 6 things that I would like to see them do. All right. So let's kick it off here. Number 1, if the Giants win the coin toss, the opening coin toss, don't defer. Now, Brian Daboll, he defers every single time, it seems, when they win the opening coin toss. And I understand why he does it. He wants to have the ball first in the third quarter. I get it. But you know what? You're coming off a very emotional loss to the Dallas Cowboys in overtime. You're back home in front of your fan base. It's expected to be a sellout with every seat filled. You want to start fast. Put your offense on the field first. Let them set the tone, okay? Last week, the offense exploded in terms of yardage. They had one of their best performances ever. Continue to ride that wave if you can. Show confidence in your offense. Go out there, set the tone, maybe throw a few passes deep to show the Kansas City Chiefs you mean business. Don't be passive. That's the one thing I don't like about, winning the coin toss and the team deferring. It's like, okay, we're going to put our defense on the field first. So, we're going to dare you to try and stop us. Okay, great. But you know what? Right now, I think we can all agree the offense, based on last week, is the hotter of the 2 units. So I would like to see them put the offense on the field. And just for what it's worth, when the Giants have won the coin toss under Brian Daboll and have deferred, they are 9-18 for a 3.333 win percentage. Right, so get off to a fast start, get the crowd into it. I mean, ride the momentum if you can. If you go 3-0, then so be it. But at least try. So I think that's very important that they get off to a fast start and they go on offense first. All right, number 2, I would run Cam Skattebo a little bit more than I would Tyrone Tracy. Now, last week they did so because Tracy was on kickoff returns. Cam Skattebo between the tackles is a little bit better than Tyrone Tracy so far in 2 games. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs, their run defense, which is allowing 106 yards per game, which is tied for 15th in the league, and 3.59 yards per carry, they're a little susceptible, if you will, up the middle. Cam Scatterboo running between the tackles has been pretty good. So I might try running him a little bit more than Tracy. Again, riding the wave, if you will, against that defense. And the Chiefs defense, it's a little tougher than Dallas is, especially up front. But if you're on a roll, so to speak, kind of stick with it. Why go back to, what wasn't necessarily working the week before? The Kansas City run defense, for what it's worth, they are probably weakest when the teams attack behind the right tackle. Who's the best Giants offensive lineman right now? Right tackle Jermaine Illuminor. All right, so when teams have run at Kansas City behind the right tackle, they have averaged 6.3 yards per rush attempt, which is ranked 25th in the league. So I know the tendency is usually to run to the left. And, Andrew Thomas, who I'll talk about a little later, may be back in this game. But I would go with a hot hand here if I'm the Giants. And I would try running, to that right side and see if you can't, break open that run game a little bit more than what it's shown thus far. All right. The third item on the list, they better figure out an answer for tight ends. Right? They're facing a good one at Travis Kelce, who, although he's on the back end of his career and he's starting to slow down a little bit and show, the age, if you will, still a very, very good tight end. Now, the Giants, Chris Ford is on IR. Darius Moiseau is probably not going to play. I could see Swayze Bozeman, who they signed to the 53-man roster, he will probably get some reps. I would also not be surprised to see if Abdul Carter gets a lot more reps at inside linebacker. They are facing Travis Kelce, who right now is probably the best tight end still in the game. I would not be surprised, again, if we see a little bit more of Abdul Carter at inside linebacker. Now, speaking up the middle of the defense and against the tight ends, I'd like to see the safeties play a little bit more aggressively. So far, Tyler Nubin, according to Pro Football Focus, has missed 2 tackles. Got to play a little bit better. And I don't know that we've seen the safeties really make a statement play yet. It's early, I get it. It's only 2 games, but you'd like to see them maybe up the ante, so to speak. So dealing with Travis Kelce, that's definitely a must. All right, the other thing, win on third down. Kansas City's defense, 44.4% third down conversions allowed, which is 22nd. The Giants on third down, they have converted 33.33%, which is tied for 27th. So you've got a pretty lousy third down offense facing a bad third down defense. Giants need to win this battle on third downs. No question about it. The red zone. The Giants, 1 of 7, 14.29% in the red zone, 31st. Kansas City, though, their red zone defense is ranked 20th. Actually, it's tied for 20th, 66.67% conversion rate allowed. Giants have to be better in the red zone. And then finally, turnovers. The Giants are dead even as far as the turnover ratio goes. They're at 0. The Chiefs are -1. All right, they only have the 1 interception. And they've given up the ball a little bit more than they've taken it away. If the Giants are going to have a chance to win this game, they got to force fumbles. And, it would be nice if they picked off a ball or 2 to maybe, give themselves advantageous field position. So those are my keys to the game on Sunday. If the Giants want to upset the Chiefs, again, it's a tall order. I know it. I'm not expecting a win. I would like to see a close game, a competitive game at the very least, but that's why you line up and you play the game because you never know. All right, Giant fans, coming up next, I spoke about the red zone, or what I call the dead zone. We're going to take a deeper look at that right after this. It's almost the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks that save you more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. So let's break it down. For the New York Giants, quarterback Russell Wilson delivered the Giants' best passing performance in years, finishing with 450 yards and 3 touchdowns, the first Giants quarterback to throw for over 400 yards since Daniel Jones did so on October 3rd, 2021, in a win over the New Orleans Saints. And just like Russell Wilson delivered for the Giants, DoorDash delivers for you for your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it all up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period ends on November 18th. Hey, Giant fans, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, whether it's player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to Locked On Giants. I'm your host, Patricia Traina, and coming up next week on Locked On Giants, I'm going to have some goodies for you. We're going to hear from former New York Giants defensive lineman Justin Tuck, who has a promotion, a marketing promotion that he is doing with Old Spice, but he's going to talk Giants with us as always. We always have to talk Giants. So we'll hear from Justin Tuck. And of course, after the game on Sunday night, we'll have a wrap up of that. Next week, we've got crossover Thursday with the Locked On Chargers. So we got a lot of things coming up here on the Locked On Giants podcast. Hope you will tune in and check it all out. All right, let's talk now about what I call the dead zone, aka the red zone. All right, the Giants, as I mentioned in the first segment, they are 1 of 7 in the red zone, which is 31st in the league. Now, in terms of passing, the Giants are 3 of 16 when they have attempted to pass inside the opponent's 20. When they are inside the 10, they are 1 of 11. So what's been the biggest problem with the red zone? All right. Part of the problem has been the play call. When you are down inside the red zone, especially when you're inside the 10, the last thing you want to do is call for a slow developing play, which means you don't want to call for a run that's going to go out wide, east and west. You want to go north and south. You don't want to take a big drop back that's going to take forever to, get the ball out of the quarterback's hand. You want to get it out fairly quickly because think about it. You don't have a whole lot of ground to make up. Meanwhile, the defense doesn't have a whole lot of ground to cover either. So it becomes easier for the defense to cover if you're going to take forever to get the ball out of your hand or go forward. So that's been a problem for the Giants. Now, in terms of average time to throw, this is where I think Jackson Dart and that package of red zone plays that the team has for him, this is where I think maybe he could help them out. So I had to go back and I had to look at preseason stats for this because Jackson Dart has only attempted, I think, 1 pass. And Russell Wilson in the red zone, 2.64 seconds average time to throw. Jackson Dart, 2.58 seconds to throw in the red zone. All right, that per True Media. You want somebody who's going to get the ball out of his hand quickly. So whether it's a 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, you want that ball out ASAP. Jackson Dart, in addition to getting the ball out of his hands quickly, can take off and run with it. So he now presents another element that the opposing defense has to consider. So, normally I am not in favor of rotating quarterbacks. I don't believe in, let, Russell Wilson do anything from their own 0-yard line to the 20 and then put Jackson Dart in. I would prefer that they keep it with the same guy. But in this instance, there's a couple advantages of rotating Jackson Dart in there. Besides the fact that, what I just mentioned, that he's quick to get the ball out of his hand, that he is a threat with his legs. It's also good experience for him because the red zone is probably the toughest area of the field to try and advance, given that, again, the defense doesn't have as much ground to work with. So I would like to see the Giants do more with Jackson Dart in the red zone. It's also good experience for him, like I said, because now he can see things progress at a bang type of, pace, which is what you're going to want him to do. You're going to want him to ultimately, when he takes over, make quick decisions. And when it comes to the red zone, you're not making any quicker decisions than in that area because of the proximity you are to the end zone and how quickly defensive players can be on you. So that would be my solution for the red zone. The run game hasn't been that great either down there. And again, that's, I look at the offensive line and the interior, and the interior just doesn't get a push. And it's not just down in the red zone either. The interior of the offensive line, just not solid yet. And I know a lot of people are like, well, when Andrew Thomas comes back, that's going to fix stuff. I don't think it will. I'd like to see kind of a shakeup there. I don't know if they would do this, but I wouldn't mind seeing Marcus Bowe play at guard. Now, I know Marcus Bowe primarily worked at tackle all summer, and that's where I think they're going to play him eventually. What about, somebody had asked me, well, what about moving Jermaine Illuminor inside to right guard? I don't know. To me, I think you would just want to make fewest changes possible. So what I'm curious to see for this week, could Evan Neal finally be activated for this week? Evan Neal is still a decent enough front blocker. And after James Hudson's meltdown last week, I would not be stunned if he's inactive. So if he's inactive, then I think you have to have Evan Neal up. I don't know that they'll do that. Brian Deeble, when he spoke to the media, he said he still has confidence in Hudson. And I think I told you guys that Hudson was very remorseful over what he had done on Sunday, vowed that it would not happen again if he got another opportunity. But, if you're the Giants, can you really trust him in the heat of battle? When emotions are flying? I don't know. That's something Dable has to answer. Look himself in the mirror and say, can I really trust this guy? Because of course he's going to say he has confidence in him. He could say that about a receiver who drops every single pass target thrown his way, or a quarterback who throws, 4 interceptions in a game. He's not going to say otherwise. Actions are going to speak louder than words. And all I know is Marcus Bowe, considering he came off the bench cold, did pretty well at left tackle. Now, if Andrew Thomas is back, obviously they're not going to need Marcus Bowe at left tackle. I'd like to see them get him in the game in some spot, whether that's at right guard or whatever, and we'll talk about the injury situation after, in the next segment. But I'd like to see the kid on the field because I do think he, by the end of the season, is going to be a starter on that offensive line. He's just come along so quickly. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. All right, Giant fans, coming up next, we're going to take a look at Andrew Thomas's status. Where is he trending? And we'll also touch a little bit upon some of the other injuries on the Giants and what might happen there. That's coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. A local spot feels like home because it's the kind of place where you walk in and everybody knows your name. The staff are like family and they've been serving this community for years. And spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. Now, in my neck of the woods, there are over 20 local businesses that are on Square, including one of my personal favorites, which is Red, White, and Q Smokehouse. Red, White, and Q is co-owned by a former U.S. Marine Corps veteran who not only serves up, in my opinion, the best barbecue in central New Jersey, but who also gives back in so many ways to our local veterans. Local spots like Red, White, and Q are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/locked-on NFL to learn more. But before you do, please go out and support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to Locked On Giants. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. Giants and Chiefs this Sunday night, home opener for the New York Giants. They're currently, I believe, a 6-point underdog, so the odds dropped against them a little bit more. It was previously 5.5. Now I think it's 6. So let's talk real quick. We'll do an update on some of the key Giant injured players, and we'll start with Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, as I told you, I think in the start of the week, if he's able to practice, albeit even on a limited basis, if he is able to practice 3 days in a row, that should be enough to get him ready to go. And he practiced Wednesday limited. He practiced on Thursday and was limited. Now, Wednesday and Thursday, they were both non-padded practices. So Giants were not in pads. If Thomas can practice again on Friday with no setbacks, I anticipate he's going to go. Okay, so if he's inactive, it's going to be a real surprise, I think, to a lot of us. So Andrew Thomas trending in the right direction. Now, some others on the injury report. There is, let me see, John Michael Schmidt, center, has been limited this week with a toe issue. Got to wonder if it's the dreaded turf toe. And if it is, it's probably a mild case. So John Michael Schmitz, that's going to be important because that interior of the Giants offensive line against that Chiefs defensive front, especially against a Chiefs defense that likes to blitz and throw exotic blitz packages at them, that's going to be important that those guys are on their A game. And in addition to John Michael Schmitz, John Runyon Jr., the left guard, has been limited all week with a back issue. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little concerned about the interior of the offensive line, probably more concerned than I would be if they were even healthy. So that's something certainly to keep an eye on. Defensive lineman Chauncey Golson is dealing with an ankle injury. He didn't practice, so I don't anticipate he's going to go. Darius Muaso, like I said, he's in the concussion protocol. He hasn't been out at practice at all week long, so you got to think that he's there early in the protocol. I don't see him making it either. I'm curious to see if Rakeem Nunes-Roches and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles return to the lineup. Flanagan-Fowles is dealing with a calf injury. He was upgraded on Thursday to limited. I think he's going to be probably questionable for this game. Rakeem Nunes-Roches has been limited with a foot issue. I know he was in a boot last week. So again, we'll see if he gets activated or if they bring up Elijah Garcia again for the third and final time before he's subject to waivers. Some other guys that we need to keep an eye on, wide receiver Gunnar Olszewski, who is also the punt returner. Now, if Olszewski can't go for whatever reason, expect Amir Smith-Marset to be activated or to be brought up, I would think, unless the Giants are going to roll with Xavier Gipson, who last week was inactive because he came on board late. Xavier Gipson can handle punt returns as well. So I want to see if they bring Smith-Marset up, if Gunnar Olszewski can't play, or if they roll with Xavier Gipson on both kickoffs and on punt returns. All right. Otherwise, the rest of the injury report, you've got Wan'Dale Robinson with a foot. He should be good to go. I talked to him yesterday. He didn't think it would be an issue. Darius Slayton has been limited with a groin and a calf, but he should be good to go as well. Tyrone Tracy with a calf was limited both days. He should be good. Roy Robertson Harris was listed on the injury report, but he's practicing full despite having a knee. Cam Scatteraboo has an ankle, but he's been listed as full. So really, it sounds like it's a lot of bumps and bruises, some minor scratches and whatnot. Really, the only concern I would think would be inside linebacker, depending on the depth there, and if they're going to be able to have, at least get Flanagan Fowles back for that game, which I don't know if they will. And then, of course, like I said, the offensive line is something to keep an eye on as well. So overall, the Giants, I would say health-wise, in decent enough shape. It's certainly improving, but you never know because something can happen on Friday or Saturday. We've seen that happen before. Hopefully nothing, knock on wood, will happen. Giants need all hands on deck because the Kansas City Chiefs, they're 0-2. They're angry. They've lost a couple of close games. They're going to be looking to get right against the New York Giants. Now, will they be able to? That's why you line up and you play the game. So we will see how it plays out come Sunday night. All right, Giant fans, before we say goodbye, as always, thank you for making the Locked On Giants podcast part of your day. Or if you made us your first listen of the day, we appreciate that as well. The NFL season is finally here. So for your next listen, go get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler the Madman Rowland gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to end the day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Giant fans, that'll do it for me. I will see you again probably on Monday morning.